My name is Jyotsna, and I was working in Dubai as a nurse. My husband was also in Dubai. My mother had made her first covenant intention for us, and by God's grace, we were blessed with a baby girl. When the time came for delivery, everything initially seemed normal, even when I was admitted. However, things quickly took a turn that we hadn't expected. Suddenly, my baby's heart rate began to drop rapidly. The medical team decided to perform an emergency C-section. It was a critical situation. I was given general anesthesia, so I wasn't conscious during the procedure. As it turned out, I had obstructed labor. Even after making the incision in my abdominal wall, the doctors struggled to deliver the baby. At the same time, my baby's heart rate was continuing to drop. The situation became so dire that the emergency team had to be called in to assist. Only after they arrived were they finally able to safely deliver my baby. I was unaware of all of this as I was still unconscious. After I was moved to my room, I anxiously asked about my baby, only to find out that she was in the NICU due to low oxygen saturation levels. Thankfully, her condition improved, but the next day the doctors informed us that her urine output was low. This required her to remain in the ICU for 4 days. 2 days later, my mother reminded us that we had Mother Mary's pendant and covenant oil with us. We sought permission and placed the pendant under her bed and anointed her with the covenant oil. Like that, on 4th day she was shifted to the room. Shortly after my baby was born, I started to develop a fever and severe stomach pain. Despite being advised to eat, I couldn't even manage to drink water. The doctors began administering antibiotics and ran several tests to determine the cause of the fever. It was then discovered that my gallbladder was filled with pus, and there was fluid in my lungs. I also experienced severe back pain during this time. Despite the medications, my condition continued to deteriorate. My fever persisted, and my health wasn't improving. The next day, my blood pressure began to rise, my oxygen levels dropped, and my heart rate increased. I was entering a critical stage. As my baby was transferred to my room, I was moved to the ICU. I was so weak that I couldn't properly care for my child, and my mother reassured me, telling me not to worry because everyone was praying for me, even people who didn't know me. As I was being taken to the ICU, I held Mother Mary's pendant tightly and prayed to be released from the ICU within 2 days. The C-section had been performed in the same hospital where I worked, and one of the staff members came to see me. She gave me blessed salt of Mother Mary. My mother then anointed on my forehead. From that moment, the medications began to work, and I started to improve. On the 3rd day, I was transferred back to my room. However, the doctors recommended surgery due to the pus in my gallbladder. The thought of another operation was overwhelming, especially since I had just gone through a complicated delivery and was still suffering from the aftereffects. I was barely able to sit properly. We informed the doctor that we didn't want to undergo surgery immediately. The doctor agreed to wait for 2 weeks, advising us to do another scan afterward and plan the surgery based on the results. Once we were discharged and went home, I started writing biblical verses every day, even though I was still in discomfort. I prayed fervently to Mother Mary, asking her to make the next scan report normal, as I couldn't bear the thought of another surgery. 2 weeks later, we did the scan, and I immediately asked the doctor about the results. To my relief, the doctor told me that everything was perfectly normal. We took this report to the surgeon, and he could hardly believe it. He showed us both reports on the system and expressed his surprise. According to the previous scan, my gallbladder was filled with pus, and surgery was the only option. But now, the report was completely normal. When I asked the doctor if this change could have been due to the medications I had taken, he confirmed that it wasn't possible. No medicine could have treated me like this. I was certain that Mother Mary had interceded for me. I never went anywhere without my rosary and pendant, and I knew she was with me. After we had finally found some peace, about a month later, my husband suddenly fell ill. We noticed he was losing weight rapidly, but we initially attributed it to stress. In total, he lost 18 kilograms and began experiencing severe breathing difficulties. He could barely stand for more than 5 minutes, becoming extremely weak and skinny. I was terrified, more so than when I was in the ICU. We decided to go to AJ Hospital in Mangalapuram, Kerala. From the moment we left home, I prayed the covenant prayer continuously. The doctor recommended a nuclear scan. I prayed to Mother Mary, asking her to spare us from another trial, especially after just having been blessed with our child and finally starting our life together. My husband, my brother, and I were together, praying the rosary all the way to the hospital. Before the scan, I gave my husband covenant honey and made the sign of the cross on his forehead. With the hospital's permission, I also gave him Mother Mary's pendant. While the scan was being done, we prayed outside, and I was on my knees the entire time. When I received the report, I was too afraid to open it, so I placed Mother Mary's pendant on the file and prayed before finally looking inside. To our relief, the scan revealed that my husband had thyroid issues, which was a relief because we had feared something far worse. He received treatment and has now returned to normal. We have received countless blessings, both big and small, for which we are profoundly grateful. We owe our thanks to Mother Mary and Jesus.